headlights, bang. Boys, wish me luck, not that I'll need it.
See you later, mate.
How good is this? Oh, I'm loving life. Windows are down. That's the only music I need. This is one of the cleanest four-wheel drive interiors I think I've ever seen. Interior really takes the build to the next level. Well, welcome to another episode of the Dirty 30 build. Now this one here is a very special episode and I'm very, very excited. In fact, I've been dreaming of this day for about 3.5 years because today is the day we bolt a set of number plates on. In fact, I've already bolted the rear one on because I was so excited. This is the front one, of course. Richard's in the back here, just fixing a few little bits and pieces. There's been a stack of work that's happened on the Dirty 30 and I'm gonna show you around in 2 seconds. But to give you a quick idea, we've done the interior of the Dirty 30. It's been down at Cruiser Consoles. It's got a PWR water-to-air intercooler, and the way Richard's run all the piping and the thermo fans on that, you need to see it to believe it. Of course, it's done engineering. I've got number plates to put on here. So by the end of today, the plan is put this number plate on and drive it home, park it in my shed. Like I said, it's a very, very special episode because this marks a very significant day in the build of the Dirty 30, the day I drive it home, which I'm very, very excited about. So come with us, let me show you all around all the exciting work that's happened on the Dirty 30. Trust me, you're gonna be blown away. So it's been a big couple of weeks down here at Mr. Land Cruiser. You know, as we're getting closer to the end of the build, it's harder to see the work that's going into the Dirty 30, but trust me, there is some really cool stuff. And some of the stuff you're gonna see today is gonna literally blow your socks off, I reckon, because it's just cool. It's really cool mods, and Richard has to think outside the square to make this work. Remember, this is a one-of-one vehicle. There's nothing like it out there. So a lot of the times we're reinventing the wheel when it comes to modifying this sort of stuff. So, you know, one thing that I guess we'll start on, you're probably seeing something very big and shiny sitting in the engine bay, and that's a PWR water-to-air intercooler. So we want an intercooler in this vehicle. Now the cool thing with an intercooler, of course, is it'll lower the temperatures, the EGT temperatures. It's a turbocharged vehicle, and because we can lower those sort of temperatures, we can probably run a bit more boost, a bit more fuel, and make a lot more power out of this vehicle, yet keeping all the vital temperatures down and very, very safe. So we've gone for a water-to-air. A front mount wasn't an option because we had no space in here. A top mount I didn't want, and water-to-air was really the only option we had.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
So this is the PWR one. I've got PWR stuff in my 80 series, and it really is some of the best stuff out there. This one in particular though, you'll notice that all water-to-air intercoolers will have a radiator, and typically you sit that radiator at the front. In our circumstances, we couldn't fit a radiator at the front, so it leaves the question, where do you put a radiator for the intercooler? Your idea, mate, so you let the people know what happened here.
We had a couple of ideas. One was in between the cab and the canopy,
Yep.
but we just didn't have, we needed sort of, spoke to PWR, they said we need 2 inches either side of the radiator, so that put that out of the question.
Yeah.
So I gave them the idea of putting it under the tray, and they were fine with that, all good. So it's under there, and it come out pretty good, I reckon.
Better than pretty good. So you see, it's on basically like a 45 sort of degree angle. Now the really cool thing about this is he built a frame for it, because obviously when you start putting things underneath the trace, especially vulnerable bits like a radiator, you've got to protect them so you don't flick rocks up or anything like that. Now it's pretty unlikely you're going to flick a rock up into that, but just in case you do, and Richard knows the way I drive, he's built a full little guard for it, complete with a mesh front. Now that mesh front is off
40 series
Land Cruiser.
Yep.
So again, it goes within the theme of this vehicle. Every single Land Cruiser model now, it's got a bit of 40 series in there, which is really cool.
Complete with the Toyota badge.
Mate, if there was only one issue I've got with this mod, is it's hidden. Because it's so cool, I reckon you need to see it. But unfortunately, it's up underneath the tray, but it's just the little details on this build, which makes it so cool. Now, we talked about having a lot of restrictions up front. So another thing that we've done, again, to make this vehicle sing even better, is we've gone for an aftermarket fan on the vehicle. Now, typically you've got 2 different types of Land Cruiser fans. You'd know this better than me, but you've got I think a yellow dot.
Yellow dot and a blue dot.
And a blue dot. Now, We had a yellow dot.
I think we had the blue dot.
Did we get
the
a blue
ones
dot?
that are softer.
We had the blue dot. Now, I always get this around the wrong way. We've got a blue dot fan that used to be on here. They are quite soft, as Richard said. So the problem with those fans, if you do go through a lot of water crossings and stuff like that, they do flex a lot more. There is a chance that those could go through your radiator. So a good little tip, if you do have a Land Cruiser, check what sort of fan you've got on it and make sure that you've got yourself a yellow dot fan. But if you want to go one better, check out the fan that we've got. Now, we've got one from my mate Marty down at Elite Weld. Now, he makes these kits mainly for TD42s, for Nissans, because they're renowned for overheating.
Yeah, they are.
And the problem is now this FTE motors don't really run hot. It's another big tick for Toyota, but look, we're not here about that. The cool thing is though, four-wheel drivers typically chuck a lot of things at the front of their vehicle. We're talking bull bars, we're talking lights, we're talking winches, then you start adding all other bits of fancy things in the front. You're basically restricting your airflow. So to compensate that, you've got one of these. This is actually a Mitsubishi fan. I think it's off like one of their 4-cylinder truck motors.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. But you could just see in the design of it, man, it's going to pull loads more air.
It's super thick, and exactly right. When you turn it on, you can hear it just draws so much more air through that radiator. So this is one truck that, touch wood, will never get hot because it's got a huge big fan on here, and it's been modified to suit the FTE motor. That's what Marty does down at Elite Weld. It is anodized, basically like a little adapter or a boss for that, and it just fits on perfectly like factory, and draws a heck of a lot more air through there. So that's really cool. What else we got in here, Richard? The big ARB compressor.
Yeah. Now, I wanted to get this under here just to keep as much stuff out of your dog box as possible, you know, so keep it under the everything, and it's just starting to fill the space up really well.
Mate, out of all my Land Cruisers, I've got to say that this one here has got the most space, and it's probably the most user-friendly to work on, which I think is a massive thing. If you're building a vehicle, have a think about it. Every time you add an accessory or modify your vehicle, have a think about how easy it's going to be to change a starter motor or an alternator, or you need to tighten a belt, or just something basic that you want to be able to do out in the tracks. You shouldn't have to take too much out of your engine bay. And the good news is there's just so much room on this particular one that it's going to make servicing and maintenance absolute breeze.
I will say what we are going to do with the compressor under here is run the intakes into your air filter box.
Yeah,
so if we do get real deep in water, we're not going to just swallow a load of water into the compressor. So
that's a really cool idea, because as you know, they do come with a little filter on the side of these ARB twin pump compressors. So you're basically just going to reroute that to go straight into the airbox.
And then it'll be pulling air from top of your snorkel.
How good's that? How good's that? Now, obviously, I've gone for the twin pump compressor. I've got one in sooty, and I've been absolutely loving it. Pumps up 35-inch tyres like they're not even there. The other cool thing, of course, is it runs my air lockers. So I've got that one compressor that does the job of basically everything. You've put the switch for that in the dash.
Yep.
The interior, we'll get to that soon, but the interior has been complete. You've got no idea. You've got to see it to believe it. But Richard's done a lot of wiring recently on the vehicle, where he's got the compressor switch, he's got the two ARB locker switches in there. You've got the thermo fan for the intercooler radiator.
Isolator switch for the water crossings and stuff,
Yep, spotlights.
Yep.
We've got a switch on there, so we've got 5 beautiful little switches, and we haven't had to touch the dash, so we've got those in the center console, which is really, really cool. Speaking about spotties as well, we've got a brand new set of Terralooms. These are the 9-inch Terraloom spotties. Now, these are wicked. I've been running these quietly on the 80 series. I've gone through quite a few different lights in the 80 recently, just testing a whole bunch of new lights out. And I've got to say, these Terralooms are probably one of the single brightest lights I've ever used. So went without saying that I want the best for this build. That's why the Terraloom 9-inch are on these ones. They light up like you wouldn't believe. Look, I'm probably going to run a light bar, but to be honest with you, 2 spotties would be more
along with the LED headlights.
Exactly. These are the Terraloom replacement headlights. So they're cool. It gives a modern look to the vehicle, but more importantly, if you know old Toyotas, any old 4-drive really, they've got candles as lights. These are very different. The LEDs have got the daytime running lights. They're all ADR approved, which is very important as well. Give you so much more light when you're trying to drive at night, which is a good thing for safety as well. And also, when you do a big drive at night, if you've got really bad lights, you get really tired, I feel anyway. You get headaches and stuff like that. I'll be able to drive in this thing all day long. I reckon good quality lights, doesn't matter what you drive, is super important. Not just your headlights, but also a good pair of spotties, which leads me to the fact that I'm probably going to be using those tonight, because the most exciting part about this is the vehicle has been engineered, it's been registered, I'm allowed on the road with it, and that's exactly why I'm here, because I'm going to take it home and put it in my shed. Mate, this has been such a monumental build. It's been huge, and I've been dreaming of this day probably about 3.5 years ago, when we first put the first angle grinder into the side of this thing.
It's going to be awesome, dude, trust me.
Mate, so we've got a few little bits and pieces to tidy up. We've got a little bit more wiring, a few little bits need to happen right now, and then I'm going to be driving this southbound, put in my shed, and it's certainly not finished at that stage, but I reckon it's a pretty cool place for it to park for a while.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, let's get into it, mate. Well, this is the first legal drive in the Dirty 30. We're off to get a wheel alignment, so we're only going a couple of k's down the road. Steering wheel's a bit of a weird angle, but we'll fix that. It's pretty cool to be driving on the road. There's traffic. I'm driving legally, we've got plates on. The wheel alignment is done and already it's driving better. We're going to go back to Mr. Land Cruiser. There's a few little bits and pieces we need to do before I can take this home, take it back to the shed for the first time in 3 and a bit years. It'll come home, and to be honest with you, this is the most it's driven in about 3 years. I've done about 2 Ks in the vehicle. Very, very excited. I'm going to put some fuel in it. You just tell, completely stock FTE motor. There's so much torque in this thing. The auto's shifting like an absolute champion.
Last piece of the puzzle, all ready for the road. Last few checks and we're on our way, I think.
Well, mate, it's looking good. I'll shut this down. Look at that. How good, mate?
It's been emotional. It's that time.
You don't want to hand it over, do you?
Really?
Well, this is going to be a very significant moment. I'm going to take it for the biggest rundown it's had in the 3.5, 4 year build.
150k.
150 Ks to home, and yeah, mate, keep your phone turned on and beside you, because no, look, I reckon it's going to purr. We've driven it around a little bit here, and it just doesn't skip a beat. So, very excited. Well, mate, thank you again. I'll be back soon, no doubt.
Yeah.
And we've got a few things to finish on. It's going to come back up to Mr. Land Cruiser to get those done.
Give it a good shakedown, I reckon.
Exactly right. So, mate, she's registered. Going home. I'm going to park in the shed, and when I get home for the next week or two, I'm going to sit in the driver's seat and have a beer, mate.
Yeah,
every single afternoon in the front seat, because I can. All right, mate.
Nice one.
Beauty.
Let's do it.
Headlights, bang. Straight into drive. Boys, wish me luck, not that I'll need it.
See you later, mate.
All right. Straight onto the main road. Here we go. I'm loving life. Windows are down. That's the only music I need. And it drives so nice. Just steers and stops and does all things that a new vehicle would do, but it's not a new vehicle, it's way cooler than that. Been driving for about 15 minutes down the freeway now, 100 k's an hour, one hand on the steering wheel, and just really enjoying the drive. I mean, I'm driving a bit like Miss Daisy, and you probably don't blame me. Just nice and easy, just enjoying the moment, really. It's been a long time coming. Here we are, driving down the freeway in the Dirty 30. To think you can have 2 fingers on the steering wheel and just, it's just a dream to drive at the moment. How good is this, eh? Well, folks, there you go. Just made it back to the shed. So the Dirty 30 is home. Have a look, eh? That's the big girl parked in the shed. Yeah, it looks pretty good there. Well, it's a bit late at night. I'm gonna turn the lights off and call it a day. 150 K is probably the best 150 Ks I've ever driven. this thing. Just have a look at it. Have a look at it. So stoked. The Dirty 30 is home. It's enough for one day. I'm out of here. Well, I woke up extra early this morning. I was just so excited I could barely sleep last night that I knew I had the Dirty 30 sitting in my own shed. So I raced down this morning, hadn't even had a coffee or breakfast, and just to get another look at this beast. And I tell you what, it's just looking better than you could ever imagine. Every time I come down and feast my eyes on this, it just looks so much better, and I think, far out, this is cool. But I did mention yesterday that we'd completely redone the interior. So I want to take a second now to show you guys inside and all the details about the interior. I've got to admit though, this vehicle has always been a very special build, but this interior really takes the build to the next level. So come with me and feast your eyes on this. Now, when I said the interior was something you need to see to believe, and it makes this vehicle build go to that next level, I'm not half wrong. This is one of the cleanest four-wheel drive interiors I think I've ever seen, and very practical too. So what happened when it came time to do the interior, there was only one bloke that's sprung to mind. And now he's done a bit of work on my 79 series. Of course, I'm talking about Jason from Cruiser Consoles. So we grabbed this vehicle, chucked it on a tilt tray and took it up to a small country town just outside of Toowoomba. That's where Cruiser Consoles is, and that's where they're really famous for interiors, the 79s in particular. So they do their center consoles, they do overhead consoles, door pockets and speaker pods and stuff for 79 series. But I asked Jason a massive favour to take on the build of this one here in the interior, and he's come up with what I reckon is one of the best interiors I've ever seen inside a four-wheel drive. You can have your brand new 200 Sahara series and all that sort of stuff. This thing here I reckon trumps them all, and it's just so neat, so custom, and it looks like if Toyota was ever to release a 60 series with a 5-speed Tiptronic auto, this is what you'll be looking at. Now start off first with the center console. The center console is it's based off one of the ones they would have in a dual cab Land Cruiser. So obviously it's got a couple of cup holders right here, which are very handy in any vehicle. You go down here to, this is the 5-speed auto fascia. So this is out of a Prado 150 series. Looks super modern, super flash, high-low range. You'll notice we've also, it's a 79 series transfer, so it's part-time. I will be putting manual locking hubs on the front there. You've got a spot to put your wallet and things like that, some change, USBs and SIG sockets. This is really cool here because I asked Jace if we could put a stack of switches into this center console, because the last thing I wanted to do is destroy this dash. I wanted to keep the dash very, very original. So I put in a stack of different switches. So I've got my ARB compressor, that's in there, rear and front lockers, so they're easy to get to when I'm driving, spotlights. And then I've also got the thermo fan for the radiator of the PWR water to air intercooler. So 5 switches there, just cleans the whole dash right up. But in particular, it's really cool to have the CompuShift in there. So that's the computer that runs the auto. Now, another thing, of course, you're going to notice straight away is the overhead console. Again, Jace from Cruiser Consoles did that. He makes these for 70 series, 76s, 79s, all that sort of jazz. But he made me a custom one for the Dirty 30, and I think it is so cool. Obviously, it comes with a heap of storage space up the top, but if you put your hand in here, it's actually all carpeted up here, so it's really nice. Really, the finish on this is just so amazing, and even to the finer details where the sun visors actually are recessed into this, so it looks like it's at 100% match for the vehicle. And also he's picked up the different browns from the interior and the dashboard to run all through here, so it just looks like it should have come out like this from factory. But it's got a couple of really cool modern touches. I've gone for GME XRS UHF. Now the really cool thing about this one, I use it in all my vehicles, but the brand new version actually has a magnetic base, so that's really easy when you're driving and you want to quickly make communications on the radio, you can, and it just goes straight back up there, which I think is handy. It's out of the way, and again, I'm trying to keep that dash cluster free. I don't want to have a stack of accessories in that dash. I want to sort of put them elsewhere and be very clever how I run my 12-volt accessories. If you do turn the accessories on the vehicle, it does have map lights, which are touch activated. I reckon that's really cool. My passenger one, of course, as well. So that is a really cool little feature. Just little features like that, I think, make a massive difference. It's got an interior light as well, so the wiring is run down through that. And these can come on via the interior as well, via a little earth switch on the door, which is all factory. And if you go down to the door cards, of course they've been reupholstered as well, but he's also put in these speaker pods in here, which has another cup holder in here. I believe these ones are a slight modification from the dual cab 79 series. These go on the rear door of a 79 series cruiser, but they fit, well, Jason's made them fit on the 60 series door. I'm going to put some speakers, of course, in here. It's going to fit a nice set of 6.5-inch speakers. In terms of the stereo system, I will be putting one in here, but it will be one that's probably hidden behind the seats that I'll control via my phone or something like that. So again, I'm going to keep that tape deck in there, because behind that tape deck, as you probably know, is the CompuShift computer for the auto. So again, just the overall combination of this interior with the straight-on seats in here, I think just gives it that really custom and really finished look, and it's just transformed this whole vehicle. So big thanks to Jason down at Cruiser Console. He's done an amazing job, and in a quick turnaround as well, which is this sort of quality usually takes a lot of time, and Jace and his team were able to knock this over in just a couple of weeks. So, well, there you go, that's the interior, and I reckon it's looking absolutely mint. In fact, I'm so stoked with this. I mean, stoked with the whole build, but this in particular, this interior, and somewhere where I'm going to be spending a lot of time, and it's just so happy with how it's turned out. Well, if you can't half tell, I'm super excited and pumped to have the Dirty 30 home and sitting in my shed. Now, I want to thank so many people that have helped me get the vehicle to this point. Now, you guys know who you are. This sort of marks a bit of a milestone, because it's about 3.5 years since the original Dirty 30 was parked here. Of course, it's been at Custom RV, it's been over at Mr. Land Cruiser for that time in between. A lot of other companies have helped, of course, along the way, and now it's back here. So a big special thanks to my mate Darren Vassy, because without him, I doubt I would have ever spun a spanner on this vehicle, and the project would have never got off the ground, because he actually came to my house, picked up the original Dirty 30 and made me start. So without that push, I doubt we'd be looking at this vehicle right now. Of course, Jason from Cruiser Consoles, what an amazing job on the interior. He does some amazing work, and you saw it. It's just a work of art. And of course, Richard and Paul from Mr. Land Cruiser, they've been monumental in getting this vehicle to what it is right now. The level of quality is just, you've got to see it to believe it. And I think, as you guys can appreciate, it is a next level build. This thing is just so freaking awesome. I'm so super stoked to have it here, but of course we're not done just yet. There's still a lot of work to happen on the vehicle, and a lot of stuff that I'm going to do myself now. We're going to put a winch on here. We're going to do a full red arc 12 volt build. We're going to put dual batteries in there. Got some really cool 12 volt tricks we're going to chuck in here, and I can't wait to show you all of that. But for now, I want you guys to basically leave some comments below and give me some inspiration of what I should do in terms of touring mods, because as you know, I've got a half canopy up there. There's one whole side which is a bit of a blank canvas. What am I going to put in there? I'm thinking maybe a drawer. You guys are going to know some cool little space saving and weight saving ideas, so I can still tour out of comfort in this vehicle, but basically keep spaces at an absolute premium in this build. So if we can try and come up with some ideas that might be able to help me around touring mods, I'd love to hear them in the comments below, because at the end of the day, you guys have been a huge part of this build as well. Have kept me inspired to keep going with this thing, and it's not going to be long now until I can hopefully get it out on the tracks. But for now, I want to say a big thank you, and I'll see you around next time.